Okay, welcome back to grade 10 business studies. This video, we want to look at a question on business sectors. So we're going to look at this question, and this question is on paper one. So we are just going to go through the question. So the first part of the question, we have got 4.1, which is 4.1.1, which reads define a tertiary sector, and it has got 2 marks. So we are just going to give a brief description of what is a tertiary sector. But we know a tertiary sector that this is the segment of the economy that provides services to the consumers. So briefly, we can just describe it as that it's a segment of the economy that provides services to the consumers. So if you go to our answer section, let's try to see in terms of our answer section what description we have in terms of the tertiary sector. So the definition of the tertiary sector is given here, which is simply given as briefly as the tertiary sector distributes goods and render services. So this is a brief description that we have in terms of a tertiary sector. So this is what we have in terms of 4.1.1. Then we can try to go back and see what we have in terms of the second part of the question now, which is our 4.1.2, which is saying differentiate between formal and informal sector. So you would see that when we are talking about our formal sector, a formal sector usually is regarded as a formal. When a business or a company is operating under a formal sector, it will be a formal registered company, and it usually contributes to the economy. In other words, we are saying when national statistics in terms of maybe the national output or national income is being calculated, when a business is operating under the formal sector, its output will be included in the calculation. But if you are operating in an informal sector, you are not accountable for, so you won't be included in the calculation of. So, in other words, we are saying a business operating in an informal sector is not accounted for, and its operations won't be registered. So basically, that's the main difference that we have between formal and informal. So we are saying under formal, they've got registered businesses, then under informal, they are not registered. So basically, that's what we have. So let's try to see in terms of answer section what differentiation do we have in terms of the two. So we are given a differentiation here in table form, whereby we are given under formal for the first point. We are saying it's a legally registered for taxation. It's a legal registered for taxation, but under informal, not registered for taxation. So this becomes one of the differences that we can deduce from formal and informal. Then the second difference that we have there is that under formal, they fall within the mainstream of the economy. That is under formal. Then under informal, they fall outside the mainstream of the economy. So that's the second difference that we can use. Let's try to move on to the third difference that is there. Not easy to enter the sector as businesses have to be legally registered. So the procedure that is needed in terms of entering in the formal sector is that there is registration process that is needed to be done, and also the issue of legal registration means they are bound to be documentation in terms of that. So it's not easy for small businesses to do that. So it becomes a barrier for them to enter that sector. So that's what we have according to formal. Then if you go to informal now, easy to enter this sector because there are no legal requirements that are needed to enter in the informal sector. So we could also try to see on the last difference that we have there, which says under formal employees are protected in many ways, such as UIF, disability funds, injured on duty funds. So, but if you go to informal, employees are not protected and can be exploited. So, those are the differences that we have. So, according to our other section here, we've got 4 differences that we have that we can deduce between formal and informal. So, we go back and try to see what we have in terms of the next question. But if you move on, you see that the next question that we have is saying is under the interrelationship between the environments. So 4.2 reads describe the interrelation between the micro and market environment. So interrelation, we are talking about the relationships that exist between micro environment and market environment. How does micro environment depend on market environment, or how does market environment depend on micro environment? In other words, we are saying the activities of micro environment, how do they affect activities that are happening under the market environment? So this is the interrelation that is being asked there. So you would see that when we are talking about when we are talking about the micro environment, we can define it as the environment which is close to any business organization, and it includes all the people that work in that environment. So the environment that I work with the organization describes the micro environment. So in a way, we are saying it describes the external environment that we have for a business. Then other market now, we are talking about the internal environment or the internal element of the organization. And these internal elements are used to create, communicate, or deliver market offerings. So this is what we so market development now entails the internal environment, which is opposed by micro when we are talking about the external one. So this is what we so our question now, going back to our question is saying describe the interrelation between the micro and market environment. So we go to answer section to try to see what interrelationship do we have in terms of that. So we are having now we have on 4.2, which is on interrelationship between the environments. Um, uh, the first statement that we have is that a description of the interrelation between the micro and market environment. So the first point is that a poor vision in the culture, and you know that a poor vision in the culture is something that is set inside the organization, which describes the market environment. So we are saying a poor vision and culture in an organization can affect its service. So the service that is going to be provided by an organization depends on the mission, on the vision and culture of the organization or business. So that's what we have in terms of the first point. Then the second point, poor marketing and poor control over the sale of stock can affect the sales and the growth of the business. So marketing and control of the sale of stock now as described by the microenvironment, and then the sales and growth of the business now is now describing the market environment. So we go to the next point. Business and consumers affect components of the micro through changes in consumer habits. Then the next one, business and suppliers influence the micro through availability of suppliers. And on the last point, a business and intermediaries affect components of the micro through change in price. So these are the interrelationships that we can deduce between the environments, that is the micro environment and the market environment. Then we can try to move on to the next question that we have. Then we move on to 4.3 reads, explain the reason why competition poses a challenge to businesses. So we can try to go to the answer section and try to see how does competition pose a challenge to business. So you see that when we're talking about competition, we're talking about similar businesses uh, that are operating, that are posing challenges to us. So basically what we have is when we have more similar businesses that are operating, it means obviously in the market we're going to share the same customers, and it's going to reduce our sales because we are going to share the customers that already exist in our market. So that is a challenge that we face. And also in terms of pricing, also is we have more competitors. It means also we are also going to have a challenge in terms of pricing, as competitors might come with lower prices below the price that we are charging for similar products. So obviously we will be forced to reduce those prices. So reduction of those prices will also lead to reduction of revenue. So it comes as a challenge again. So we have got the points there that we have that are describing reasons why competition poses a challenge to businesses. So on the first point, we have got different competitors. Different competitors try to outdo each other based on the price and the product. And then the second point, the business operates with others for the same customer, so they end up with a smaller market share. So this is exactly the point that we are trying to explain. When we go to the next one, customers tend to shop around for lesser prices and puts pressure on business. So as we are having lesser prices that are now existing due to competition, it's also going to put pressure to us as a business to reduce the price so that we match the price of the competitors, so that our revenue don't go down or our sales don't decrease. So this is what we have on the next point. Substitute products create competition for the business because they are cheaper in the prices and offer alternatives. Substitute products satisfy the same needs. So we are also having at this point, and then on the last point, if businesses are in the stage of competition, it usually results in the price wars. E.g., if they are of the same size and capacity, resources, sell related products, etc. So this to sum it up, these are the reasons why competition poses a challenge to business. So we are 4.3. Then we can try to look at the next part of the question. Next part of the question is 4.4, which is uh, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. And this question is on business functions. So the extract that we're given there is Maanda fried chicken, which is MFC. So on the extract, it reads MFC is a business situated in a busy town near Mokopane. They specialize in selling fried chicken. Their customers are not allowed to retain wrong meal orders made by cashiers. So on the first part of the question, 4.4.1 reads, identify the act that Maanda fried chicken violated. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario above. So we are trying to see what was violated, identify the act, and we try to go through and see if you go to the last statement, it's saying that their customers are not allowed to retain wrong meals ordered by a cashier. So that's where there is the violation because they are not allowing to returns, which is not an ethical activity that is being done by MFC. So you would see that they are violating the Consumer Protection Act. Remember, the Consumer Protection Act aims to promote fairness, openness, and good business practices between suppliers of goods and services and consumers. So, by so doing, by not allowing returns, it means the consumers are not being protected. So, we'll see that the violation is on the part of the Consumer Protection Act, which is the CPA. So we can go to the other section and try to see explanations that were given pertaining that. So if you come to the other section, we see that 4.4.1 is saying what is being violated is the Consumer Protection Act, which is also the CPA in abbreviation. So on the motivation part, it reads their customers are not allowed to retain wrong meal orders made by cashiers, which is what we have there. Then on the last part, again, let's just try to refer back and see what we have on the last part. Last part is saying explain two purposes of the act identified in 4.3.1 above. So we are just trying to come up with the purpose of the Consumer Protection Act. What purposes can we deduce from that? So those are the purposes that we are just going to go through according to the other section. So on the first point, is saying CPA promotes and advance the social and economic welfare of consumers in South Africa by establishing a legal framework for consumer market that is fair, accessible, and sustainable for consumers. So this is, remember, we are saying we are talking about CPA, and we are talking about it. It ensures the social and economic welfare of consumers. So that's basically what is being explained by the first point. We go to the second point. It promotes fair business practice, exactly as we defined it. And then last point, it aims at improving consumer awareness and encouraging responsible and informed consumer choices and behavior. So this marks at the end of our video of what we wanted to cover according to this video. So let's subscribe and share. And also let's share the link to all our colleagues who are doing grade 10 business studies. Let's turn on the notification button so that when we upload new videos, you get notified and it enhances your preparation for the final exam. But as for video, I'm signing out. We'll meet again in the next video.